Today I am celebrating the start of the Mayan calendar. Now, it's not a calendar that I use. The Mayans aren't a culture that I know voluminous things about. The reason that I particularly feel to honour the start of the Mayan calendar is because for me they represent a people who managed to, despite their apparently primitive setups, ascertain things about this universe that some people still question today. In recent years, we've seen the growth of the flat earth theory and proponents of the flat earth theory. There are many flat earthers out there who believe that the whole idea of us living on a ball hurtling through space with a load of other balls spinning round and round in continuous orbiting spirals is preposterous. They feel that they have been lied to. And undoubtedly, in the modern world, we are lied to about many things. And yet, the ancient Greeks managed to discern the fact that we are indeed on a ball with other balls spinning through space. And the Mayans, too, also managed to discern that from themselves. I mean, as far as we can tell, without any outside intervention, merely based upon the observations of the world around them. Now, I love the story of the Mayans and how they went about doing that. And let me just say that I have no doubt, as a culture, the Mayans did many things that we cannot begin to understand. Their temples were apparently covered in blood, and they were practicants of child sacrifice, and there are all sorts of things that I would not venerate about the Mayan culture. And yet, there is something that I very much do appreciate. And in front of their temples, there were always these large paddling pool type structures that for some time people struggled to understand what they were used for. And it has turned out, with the incredible efforts of archaeology and the people that have been able to decipher the ancient texts, that we find the pictograms on their temples, that what they were actually used for was the practice of astronomy. And that by using very fine threads stretched across these paddling pools with a painted black surface at the bottom, they were able to observe the movement of the stars with incredible accuracy. So accurate that they were able to measure the great year. The great year is a cycle of 26,000 years. It's a cycle of time which is so vast, it allows us to be able to see the wobble of the earth as it spins round, and how that affects the movements of the stars above our heads. This cycle of 26,000 years, if I remember correctly, it takes something like 72 years for our planet to for the stars to have shifted just 1 degree above our heads. So that sounds about right, because then 360 degrees would be the entire cycle, and that would probably be about 26,000 divided by 3. I'm not sure about my mental arithmetic, but if I remember correctly, that 72 years is basically one lifetime. So how many lifetimes? I mean, we know that the Mayan civilization did not span, or it doesn't look as though the Mayan civilization spanned a period of 26,000 years. But one thing we know is for sure is that the cycle that was observed by them must have been taken from observations that were passed down through generation upon generation. Imagine observing the sky for your whole lifetime and passing on your records to your descendants, such that they may continue that same search of trying to establish who it is and where we are in the universe. It's that, for me, which inspires me. The idea of that unbroken record amongst human beings, the wisdom, the knowledge, the observations being passed down, passed down, passed down. You know, we are embedded in a civilization which also, especially through this technology, is able to pass the wisdom of the ages. We don't have this unbroken verbal tradition, oral tradition that many cultures have. And yet there is so much wisdom that is being transmitted to us through what we can find on these screens. So I wanted to give thanks for the inheritance of wisdom that comes from our forebears. It comes through all sorts of subtle ways and means. One of my greatest inspirations is a man called Alan Watts, and he transmitted to me many great wisdoms and a great deal of knowledge about the ancient world, and the world of his time. I mean, the idea of being so disconnected from our ancestors is a very modern one, and I feel very grateful for the people who enlightened me as to the ongoing presence of our ancestors in our modern lives. That's maybe a subject for another celebration. But today I want to celebrate the birth, the start of the Mayan calendar, and for their incredible ability to be able to observe the living world around them and to deduce from that such immeasurably large movements spanning such huge amounts of time, and their ability to be able to share that with us now through their calendar. So, for good or for bad, here's to the Mayan civilization.